Hey people, Rex Regum here. Back again with another reaction video, and today we're reacting to Casual Geographic. Definitely check them out. And this video, like one day, was uploaded 1 day ago, where honey badgers don't fear God or lions. They don't. And yeah, definitely check them out. This channel is great. It's educational, it's really fun, and don't hold a honey badger. Bad idea. Bad idea. That was expected. But my dog would also cannot do that, so...
Honey badgers are the most disrespectful force in nature, and that's putting
They
them
are.
over orcas.
They are.
Because at least when an orca shot puts a seal, you can argue it's just testing a new hunting strategy. But honey badgers will look for negativity in situations where they have nothing to gain. Why would a honey badger test an oryx 10 times its size, get launched only to immediately do it again?
These suckers are good. Like, they're hilarious, honestly. They're just like... They don't fear gods or lions. They don't fear anything. But they just kinda don't care. Oh, excellent.
Because honey badgers come into the world deciding they don't want peace, they want problems.
Yes.
They don't want compromise, they seek conflict. If orcas are
Well,
don't want peace, they want problems. They don't want compromise.
how are you like this big? It gets like... And like a tiny fucking rat thingy makes you fuck off.
Conflict.
Like,
if orcas are homicidal sea Oreos, then honey badgers are double stuffed with audacity. If I ever make a list of the top 5 animals with black Air Force energy, honey badgers would be a first ballot choice.
they would be.
But like any
number
kid that
one.
acts out in school, to really understand just what makes a honey badger such a one-man hate campaign, you gotta look at its family. When you talk about mammalian carnivores, you can really simplify it into 2 classes, Team Cat and Team Dog.
Okay,
Team Cat would be
I don't know this
feliform,
stuff.
which translates to cat-like carnivores, which would obviously include wild cats,
Yeah,
but also
lion,
cats
all
that
that
aren't
stuff.
really cats like hyenas, mongooses like the meerkat.
Meerkats. I have this one movie about meerkats. I don't know much about meerkats. He says they're disrespectful bastards. I do kind of believe that because I know the face of snakes, like poisonous ones. I have a bunch of movies about them. I used to watch when I was younger. I don't do anymore. But
And a bunch of other animals
yes,
you've probably never heard of.
they're epic. Well, did I hear of any of them before?
It's like the meerkat, and a bunch of other animals you've probably never heard of.
I've heard fossa before. Wasn't it like a thing in, you know... I forgot what they were called, but... These Ice Age movies with the mammoth. And the saber-tooth. And the, you know, the one with the human baby that everybody hates, but I haven't heard of any of the others before.
On the other side is Caniformia, which are the dog-like
Doggos.
carnivores. This includes dogs, wild, unhinged dogs,
Yeah.
dogs on steroids,
Wait, bears in his family? I didn't know that.
smaller but more street-smart dogs, and a
Yeah.
special group of water dogs that decided they had enough of the
What? How are they there? How are they this group? Evolution is weird. Especially nature's really weird. I say. Yeah, confusion. Apparently they are.
nonsense and disrespect of the dirt world, and we're gonna take their chances out in the ocean.
Yeah.
Results have been varied. But
Yeah,
you
getting
also have
fucked
another
by
family known as the
orcas.
Mustelidae squad, and they were kind of in a weird spot. They weren't the biggest, definitely weren't the fastest,
Yeah, badgers, you know.
not the smartest, and for the
I do know, like, I don't know much about honey badgers, but no, they're not actually badgers. They're not part of the badger family.
most part they're solitary, meaning they rarely have a numbers advantage. So their only real option was to overcompensate the way anyone that overmatched would, with violence and borderline crackhead
Oh,
courage.
Jesus.
If mustelids like honey badgers ran in groups, they probably wouldn't need the personality of a power tool to survive.
Yeah.
Because gang violence may be unethical, but in the wild, it's a way of life.
It
It's
is
the reason
probably
African
the
wild dogs
safest
are one of
way.
the most efficient groups at canceling life subscriptions. Because team play is high-key underrated. Ants are probably the best used social insects in the game, and it's almost scary how
Ants are fucking like... They're one of my favorite animals out there. Like, they're just... There's so much interesting stuff about them. I know that there's an ad. It's probably now
well they
coming.
work together. Led by a queen who can almost check in at the same weight class as a mouse, ant society is built on a hierarchy where everyone has a job.
Ant queens are
Female
fucking
ants
huge.
are workers who can have tasks such as cleaning the eggs and feeding the larvae. Queen ant's job is to supply the ant census with new bodies by constantly spawning eggs, and some species can spit out over 800 in one day. Male ants have one
That's
job, and it's to
crazy.
supply the queen with baby batter and then exit the census once they fulfill that purpose. They have no rights, no free will, they're basically walking ejac packets.
Yeah.
And if you ever wanted to know just what
Sucks
ant
to be
society
that.
is like, the Ants Underground Kingdom is a simulation strategy game with
Yeah, I
the
don't-
Banshee Ant.
I don't
Buildings
wanna-
like that includes Guardian Ant, Scorpions, and fades with jump from all around the sequence. It's the game is our strongest army is always an army. It's to
Okay,
make
well.
sure your army is the strongest one. But if
Yeah, that. No offense, that game looks kinda garbage. It might be. It's just from first glance. It looks like a generic ass mobile game.
If you're a honey badger, the strongest army is always an army of one. Honey badgers
Yeah.
can be the mascots of Mirrorlast because they don't ever give them.
Because like, honestly, I count this one as suicide. Like the lion isn't even like. This thing would die when the lion like accidentally steps on it.
Army is always an army of one. Honey badgers could be the mascots of Mirrorlast because they don't ever give them, they just take them.
Yes.
When I say it runs in a family, you can tell the honey badger took something from all of their cousins and made it theirs. We're gonna get to those cousins,
That's
don't worry.
like
But first we gotta talk about what
smart
makes honey
move, I
badgers such a
guess.
middle finger to the natural order.
and net.
First is the fact that they're not indestructible, but damage
That looks like that looks like it's hurt. Like ouch.
they're pretty close. Honey badger
Ah.
skin is tough and resilient, able to withstand bee stings,
This
snake bites, and
hurts
brutal
me
maws,
by
and will
looking at
certainly be a
it.
game over for other animals. You could even come at a honey badger with a machete, and it could still probably Eurostep any serious injury.
What? Okay, there's thick skin and there's getting slashed by a machete and not caring at all.
There's
That's
even reports
like-
of these steroid skunks taking down African crested porcupines. The same ones that have about
Porcupine.
30,000 good reasons why testing them could be real.
I don't wanna, like I saw them in zoos before. That's a lot and some pretty long stuff. I don't wanna get stabbed by that.
Bad
Whatsoever.
for your health. In really rare occasions, porcupines have crippled the top tier lions so badly that hunting humans was their only option. In 1965, after a lion nicknamed
heard of
the
that
Man-Eater
before.
of Darajani was finally put out of commission, it was discovered that it had been gored by a blade beaver, with one of the quills being lodged in its fractured teeth and another one nearly piercing its brain.
We are apparently like really easy prey actually when like a last resort for lions is apparently killing us because they can't get any, like I kind of don't understand that point. Like they usually don't hunt us, but like not like humans are, especially if they're alone and not armed, they're really easy prey because they can't really do anything. Like our punches are weak as fuck. Our kicks are like not quite as weak, but like a lion doesn't care if we kick them or not. Like we can't really scratch, our fingernails are like not effective at that. Or like we can't bite deep, but our bites are not that healthy for animals because we like that just is how it is. I read that somewhere that like human bites are actually really bad for animals, so yeah. If you want to screw over an animal, bite it, apparently.
Naming out of options, a starving lion put at least one Kenyan on a t-shirt. That's the kind of carnage porcupines
What does
are
one
capable of,
Kenyan
yet honey
mean?
badgers can often survive an encounter with one thanks to their tough skin. The same reason they can square up with snakes and then live to try again. Honey badgers are
Snake.
menaces that have been known to turn deadly serpents like the puff adder and even the black mamba into a purse.
You know, you don't just go at poisonous snakes. That's like, this is literally a middle finger to nature, I guess.
Common misconception though is that honey badgers are immune to snake venom. They're not immune. They're much more resistant than other animals, but enough penetrating bites
Yeah,
to
they
flatline
just
even a honey
tank the
badger.
bite.
But usually if a honey
Kinda.
badger is wounded by a venomous snake, it'll just pass out in an almost coma-like state, only to get up a few hours later and walk it off like a Sunday morning hangover. Another
Okay,
fact
they
is
are
that not only is
resistance.
honey badger skin tough, it's incredibly loose, especially around the neck. So if one's ever being mauled by a big cat, this walking cigar can turn around while being a
These things, like, they kinda went all in the skill tree for predators, I guess. Like, other predators can't do shit, mostly. Like, okay, if they really wanted to, I suppose, but
attacked and deliver smoke directly to the face.
they look
Honey
annoying to
badgers
kill.
are furry duracells, and anything short of a round directly to the skull isn't guaranteed to kill them. This durability is why honey badgers are either brave enough or stupid enough to blatantly steal from top predators, and they usually target leopards. Unlike lions and
Leopards. Well, leopard's the one that can...
Hyenas, leopards
okay,
are
doesn't matter.
solitary assassins that hide their prizes high up in the branches where they can't get their pockets picked.
Okay, yeah.
The food may be safe from lions, but they're not safe from a malicious equality symbol with nothing to lose.
Yes, because
Honey
they
badgers will
can
risk it all by
fly
attempting to steal
incredibly
from a
hard,
leopard by climbing
apparently.
a tree once it steps away from its meal. If the honey badger gets caught in the act, it'll throw a loud temper tantrum, hissing and screaming as it backs away. A method I'm sure they got from their close cousin, the wolverine. The wolverine is a honey badger on PEDs, built
Like
for the
just-
freezing tundra.
Just make them think you're crazy. They don't want to mess with you, because you shouldn't mess with crazy things. Like, if something is just going insane, like just screaming at something, just leave it alone. It's the safest for everybody involved.
North. And even though they're roughly in the same weight class as a medium-sized dog, tankier predators like
Okay.
bears and mountain lions will occasionally pay food taxes to this walking vibe check. But the thing
Yeah,
with
that's
Wolverines is they have the
badass,
strength
I
and
guess.
speed to catch their own bodies.
What is that? What is that head?
But the thing with Wolverines is they have the strength and speed to catch their own
I
bodies.
cannot tell what it is.
Wolverines will stalk a potential victim for hours, even days, and there have been reports of Wolverines posting up in trees just so they can wait for the right moment to pounce.
I haven't
But
heard
why
of these
waste
things
energy
ever
or
before, by the
calories
way.
doing that when you can just pickpocket a grizzly or clutch a 2v1 versus wolves. And just like the honey badger, Wolverines will attack
Okay,
anything with a pulse. Difference
Wolves aren't like... They aren't that big of fighters. They're just in a group, staring, like... Wolves are really not that dangerous.
is they have the
as far
tools
as
to
I
actually
know.
stop it. One Wolverine put a polar bear in a headline after clamping
What?
its
How the fuck does that happen? How?
vice grip jaws around the struggling bear's throat until it's suffocated.
Okay,
There have
that
even been
way.
reports of a Wolverine dropping a female moose by ripping at its shoulder blades until it eventually tapped out. In comparison, honey badgers
These
have allegedly
things,
KO'd
what?
units like the Cape Buffalo and Waterbuck. Except the honey badger's methods are different. Wolverines
Ow. Seeing that just made me go through all the stages of grief. There should be stages for pain too. Rest in peace to our fallen comrade.
are little man syndrome but with bear trap jaws. Even though they
God.
might not have superhuman healing powers, they do have rotated teeth. Wolverines are equipped with upper molars rotated 90
Rotated
degrees
teeth.
inward, meaning they can easily
Yeah,
eat a grizzly
that's-
bear's leftovers even if it's half frozen. That dental plan is why
That's good to
Wolverine will
rip
eat every
stuff
part
off.
of an animal right down to the bones. Honey badgers don't have nearly that kind of power, but these prison-striped weasels do pack
Yeah.
a nasty bite, and they've been seen tearing into tortoises.
Anime badgers are like more on the being crazy side, I guess.
Wolverines have one more secret, and it's that they smell really, really foul. Not only will they use the power of liquid booty as a threat, they'll spray the scent over any food they find
I
to
hate
make
that.
sure no one else touches it. Which is why
Yeah,
the
I
Wolverine
wouldn't
is
do
also
that.
nicknamed the skunk bear.
Skunk
Honey
bear.
badgers also weaponize their scent.
Do I actually know that
When
one though?
threatened or just annoyed, the honey badger will reverse its anus inside out and release a liquid so vile it can suffocate anything near it. In fact, the smell is so
That's
offensive it can temporarily paralyze attacking bees. It's not
Yeah,
hard to see how the
nobody
skunk
wants to
bear and
eat
the
you
family ferret pull up to
when
the
you're
same
like
family reunion.
just another ad.
But you can RSVP the otter to the same function. Otters are considered
Yeah,
the most
okay.
intelligent
Otters of
of all mustelids, and they're a part of the rare group of animals that are able to create and use tools. This one's using a vending machine. In fact, they're so smart.
So we're gonna be overtaken. Our civilization is gonna be brought down by these things. Definitely, like, what are they
that in the
supposed to do
60s,
about
the CIA
like?
allegedly tried to weaponize them. I actually made
Why?
a video on this in an auto report that was created on my TikTok.
Okay, it's the
so definitely
CIA.
go check
Why
it
am
out.
I even?
They're also an anomaly
Why
in
am
that
I
they're
even
one of
talking?
the rare social mustelids, which should give you mixed feelings. Because
It gives me mixed feelings because first, it's wholesome. Second, it probably means gang violence, as I noticed.
sea
Stuff.
otters will hold hands while sleeping so they don't float away. Despite my lack of emotion, I find that adorable. But
Yeah,
otters,
that is
especially
adorable.
river otters, will jump anything that enters their territory, from
Yeah.
cavemen to jaguars to idiots with iPhones.
Gang
If you want your
violence.
idea of otters to be completely slaughtered in 10 seconds, Google otter and attack and count how many articles you get. A pack of 20 nearly
probably
took a
too
man out
many.
the Singapore census permanently. A group
Oh.
of rogue otters drowned a woman's beloved dog as she could only watch.
No.
Once upon a time, a monkey wandered into the otter hood of the Bronx Zoo.
Okay, I've
An
thought of
outnumbered
that one
monkey
before.
paid the toll for his transgressions with his soul. That's really only scratching the surface. I already have an entire video dedicated to the
I watched
carnage
that one.
society lets otters get away with, but one fact should really hammer the point home.
Otters
Sea
are
otters have a
fucking
violent mating
psychopaths.
ritual that involves biting his partner's nose pad so hard that he can tear it off while occasionally holding her head underwater. That is not the disturbing part, because frustrated male otters that couldn't find a mate will resort to taking their lack of options out on baby seals.
Why is nature so fucked? It should. This is the. I don't like this. I don't. Let the baby seals. Let them be innocent,
Something they'll
please.
continue to do for up to a week, even after the seal's soul has already evacuated. I mean that in the worst possible way. So in a weird
I did
twist,
not
out of
need
these
that
three,
picture in my
otters will
head.
have the lowest
Thanks for that,
morality,
dude.
But to compensate, they have the highest intelligence. Don't think honey badgers are just some crayon eaters. They're incredibly smart too.
Yeah.
They're like the kind of smart that would
Because of course they are. They've maxed all the
make them
stats.
high-class criminals. In an experiment, a honey badger couldn't reach a box of food that was hanging from a branch of a tree. But what would have been a dead end for most animals was only a challenge for him. After a few seconds to carefully weigh his
Yeah.
options, the honey badger proceeded to push his crate closer to the hanging box, to the point where he could stand on it to claim his prize.
Yeah,
It
of
might not
course
seem
he
like much,
does.
but being able to figure this out automatically puts honey badgers in the highest percentile when it comes to animal intelligence. But the best example would
Yeah,
be this
smart
guy named
fucker.
Stoffel. Stoffel was a well-known escape artist that would find some of the most creative ways to end his bondage. In one of his many escapes, Stoffel noticed a broom that had been left near him, dragged it over to one of the corners of his enclosure, leaned it against the wall, and then used it to emancipate himself.
This sucker is too smart. He is like dangerous to human society. He should get assassinated. I just disabled sound.
With a gate and Stoffel the Black Air Force managed to undo himself. They tested his skills with a gate and Stoffel the Black Air Force managed to undo the
Of
latch
course
to
he
the
doesn't.
lock. They then put him in a cell surrounded by cement walls. Take a wild guess what this little weasel did. Stoffel dug up a bunch of rocks,
Oh,
and when
no.
he had enough, he piled them in a corner and Andy Dufresne himself. One night, his caretaker awoke to a burglar in his home at 1 a.m. You know where I'm going with this. Stoffel escaped again, only this time he broke into the farmer's house and even tried to get into his bedroom. And you want to know
Wow.
the most disrespectful part of
Beautiful.
it all? Stoffel was hand-raised by humans at a young age.
I
and
love
turned
this
it on.
dude.
Meaning Stoffel had no intention of actually escaping.
I
Nah, he was just
absolutely
doing
love
it
this
for the
dude.
sport and for all the memes. We know that because Stoffel would allow himself to be caught and returned back to his enclosure just so he could figure out another way to make his caretakers earn their pay.
That
Breaking
one
into
is
the
epic.
farmer's house past midnight was just
Like,
great
seriously.
trolling. And of course, it would be criminal to not mention that time Stoffel escaped his enclosure and entered the lion's den where he was nearly brutally mauled to death.
Okay.
After he recovered, the first thing Stoffel did
You're
fresh out was
doomed,
try to
right.
find a way back to the lions to settle the score. Stoffel would also
yeah, of
regularly break into the lodge
He is Halibut. Of course he does that. Like that's understand at this point I'm not even surprised about this.
kitchen where he would harass staff and help himself to any food he could find. They eventually gave
Yeah.
him a lady badger thinking that would help him calm down. What they really did was introduce the Bonnie to his Clyde as they would now try to escape together. For their
Oh,
size, honey badgers have relatively large brains and they make it everyone's problem.
I love
But there's
it.
one more thing about them that really makes them a menace to society, and for that you have to look at its third cousin, the stoat. The stoat is one of the
Oh no, these suckers, they can like take down animals several times their size.
smallest
Like
of all muscelless, yet they regularly put prey 10 times their size out of commission.
10
They do
that's
this by
crazy,
relentlessly chasing
honestly.
their prey, which are usually rabbits, until the prey eventually drops to exhaustion. Only then will the stoat deliver a devastating bite to the back of the skull.
That's a
And once the stoat
disrespecting
locks
way
in
to
on
kill
its target,
something.
there isn't a force in nature that can stop it. The stoat is so hyper-fixated that it'll even ignore rabbits that might be closer just so they can commit to pursuing its original target. That crackhead determination
Well,
is
that
not
sucks.
foreign to the honey badger. The only way a honey badger can fend off leopards, hyenas, and even the occasional lion is by constantly squirming, hissing, and biting until the attacker eventually decides it's not
Focusing is generally like even a normal fight, it's not. If 3 people come at you, beat the shit out of one of them and like don't touch the other ones. It's just like you will do a lot more damage and potential scare off is like so focusing like in fights and stuff, very important.
worth the calories. Even if they eventually do go out of commission, you can be sure the honey badger did not go quietly. The badger's
Yes.
stubborn nature is
They were
probably best
like-
summed up when you see what they do for honey. Honey badgers love breaking into beehives.
Yeah, I heard of that. They just sometimes get stung to death, but they just don't care because they just kind of like sit. They want the honey. I can understand. Honey is amazing.
To eat energy-rich honeycombs. Unfortunately, that often means getting a face full of African bees, which are more aggressive and more nasty than their European cousins. But these honey weasels will continue
Yeah,
to eat even
I don't
while being
know.
actively swarmed
I don't know what that says. I live in Europe and like bees aren't all that aggressive unless you like piss them off. I once, when I was a child, accidentally sat on one That one was sure pissed off.
been attacked by bees.
No, fuck it.
And even though they're resistant, they're not 100% immune to bee stings. Honey badgers have been known to keep raiding the same beehive for honey until they eventually get stung to death. But honey badgers don't care. They live life balls first with no fear of consequences. This willpower is how 2 honey badgers stepped to 6 young lionesses and still managed to survive. At one point, the honey badger found itself in the jaws of death, only to use its loose skin to turn around and bite the lion back.
Honey
This
badgers are
leopard tried
unfair.
harassing a young baby badger, only to end up cosplaying as a cheetah once Mama Badger inserted herself into the conversation. Speaking of cheetahs, honey badgers have such a reputation that it's widely believed that cheetah
I know. Cheetah pups. They like pretend to be honey badgers, so like they don't get eaten.
cubs evolved to mimic their coloring to avoid confrontation with predators. A whole predatory cat, and evolution forced them to impersonate an African bush weasel just to get more respect. Hell for cheetahs, but another notch in a honey badger's chastity.
I love it.
I say chastity because they don't give a f. With the strength and durability of a wolverine, the intelligence and morale deficit of an otter, the pure coke-fueled willpower of the
They
snow,
just got
the honey
like
badger's the only thing alive that can make a bull cut intimidating. And that's gonna do it for this video, which was by far one of my most fun to make. If you want to support this
I
channel,
do
my Patreon's
believe that. These animals are just
gonna be in
fucking.
the description. Also, like the video or
Yeah, support this dude. He is amazing. He does amazing content, and he deserves all like every tiny bit of support he can get. But yeah, subscribe and bye.